Hey guys, it's Barb with Inspire Me 360 and Tegan is here today.
Hey guys, how's it going?
So we are actually bringing up the subject of, money, things, the hustle, all that good kind of stuff, and really circling it back to living your best life and happiness. Because of course we all want things, we all want fancy cars, we all want the luxury lifestyle, but is this culture of this ultra luxurious, super glamorous lifestyle hurting us or helping us? And this is the question we are going to delve into today. So Tegan, I'm going to throw it over to you a little bit. Some words of wisdom. This guy he is young, but he is wise. So what's your thoughts on it? What do you feel like when you're hanging around with your friends and the dialogues? And tell us a little bit about how that goes.
Kind of just talking about money in a standpoint, it doesn't matter. I guess I was going to kind of talk about generation and stuff like that, but essentially it's always been around where people, will end up chasing the bag more than friendships, relationships, spiritualism, and all these different things at the end of the day. And then, kind of taking a look at my friends and stuff like that, I see a lot of them, so focused on the bag, so focused on the money, that they're losing their relationships, they're losing their friends, they're losing opportunities because they're so focused on this one thing.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing about the equilibrium of our why. Why are we doing it? Because I'm a little bit older than you, so I've had a little bit more years in the game. I'm not going to date myself here, but 25 years, more than that I've been working, right? So for me, I've gone through that work yourself into the ground mentality. And I can tell you, because I'm at the other end of it, it's sometimes not worth it. That's the best way I can put it. You don't want to take everything that you are and basically break your body down and work yourself into oblivion, because when you come out the other end of that whole vortex, you might have lost a lot that you didn't realize was actually far more important. Do you have any insights on that, or do you want me to keep rolling?
So talking about maybe society structure of things, so this is why we think we have to have this much money and wear this much clothes and have a reputation up here, is because society's way of thinking has told us, or our parents' way is that you always have to one up, you always have to be better, you always have to improve, there's no slowing down kind of thing. So that's what we've been taught. So when we're so adapted to the situation, obviously most of us, or a lot of us, are adapted to the situation we're surrounded around. So we end up being like this, not even conscious or aware of it sometimes, right?
Yeah, and it's this comparative thing too. Since social media and all of this really hyper intrusion into other people's existences, we have to remember too, a lot of that is fake. So a lot of what you see on people's Instagram feeds and their Facebook feeds, it's not real. They're posing at fancy places, they're this and that, and then they go home and they can't even pay their bills or whatever it is. So it's a lot of illusion out there, and it's a lot of illusion that puts massive pressure on the individual to try to conform to this way of life. But the question that we have to ask ourselves is this conformity, is this hustle actually making us happy, or is it leading to a lot of emptiness in connections, disconnection with our families, because all we're thinking about is the almighty dollar? Are we joyful? Are we doing the things that we love? Are we completely sucking dry our creative essence and essentially selling everything out for money?
And that's essentially it. So when we look at it all from a bigger standpoint, and kind of taking a look into other episodes and stuff as well, we were talking about traveling and whatnot, and you really get to see the different side and different factors of things. Obviously, you're not seeing everybody chasing the bag, this and that. At the end of the day, they're just taking care of their family and feeding their needs and their basics, and they seem to have everything compared to everybody else. And the problem with it is that I've seen so much times is when people get to their goal or whatever it is, that fancy new sports car, that $1 million or whatever, it's what's the next thing now? That wasn't even enough. It's the next, right?
Well, and they're not even happy. Again, the circles that I run in, just because of course I own large scale multi-million-dollar businesses, you're around a lot of affluent people, and their stuff actually doesn't matter to them. They'll talk a lot about their stuff, oh yeah, I just bought this, or look at this beautiful bag or whatever, but you can tell just from looking in their eyes that there's really no joy about that stuff. It's just a cover up actually for a lot of pain, because again, generally to get to this level, you had to sacrifice a lot. what you're usually sacrificing, number one, a lot of times it's your family, your kids, your mom, your dad, your relationship with your families, because you put them on the back burner because you're chasing this thing. The second thing that you often neglect is your own health, because again, you're going to be working at some crazy pace. I know I did. I would do night shifts, day shifts, night shifts. I was working way too much. And then it ended up coming to bite me in the ass because I have a lot of troubles with vertigo now. So even my stability, my balance, and that's because for so many years I overdid it. I actually almost got killed on the highway once by a semi-truck because I was driving so tired from working these at locations and colleges all over Canada, and I was driving from one to the other, not paying attention while I was driving, and swerved off the road, and long story short, right? But that's the thing, you let all of the balance in your life go for this illusion of a better life through money.
100%. Yeah, and that's essentially it. Like, I use my own personal example, for instance, is like buying the new car I did, and I worked my ass off and stuff like that, but at the same time, you realize like you only have that amount of happiness for a very short time, and the amount of time that you put into getting that was a lot longer than the time that you enjoyed having that, right? So it's like, how much is your time worth at the end of the day? And that's the one thing, unfortunately, we don't get to buy more of, or have more of, and we don't get to decide, right? So I think that's more kind of what we need to really put our energy into and time into, is like the time we have here, instead of focusing on the materialistic side.
Yeah, and overconsumption. Like, I mean, here's another thing. If you look at back in the day, like my grandma would have like, her 4 fancy dresses, and those fancy dresses meant the world to her, and she was always caring for them and fixing them up. Nowadays, we have such a throwaway mentality. It's like, I can only wear this once, or, oh yeah, I drove this car for a little while. I need a new one. I need a new bag. I need a new purse. I need a new boyfriend. I need to do this. Like, everything's so disposable, and there's no real adherence to the value of things and the valuation of the small thing. And I think we need to, if we're looking at sustainability in terms of planet Earth and our biosphere and our ecosystem, we have to get to a certain point where we move away from this gluttonous sort of consumerism where all we do is want more, 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 more. We have to stop, slow down, look at what we have, and now impart gratitude and this element of just taking care of the things that we've earned, but having these moments where we settle into a nice, peaceful vibration.
100%. And then still, like, if we realize that all these things aren't filling the void, filling the gap, buying another t-shirt, buying another car, then obviously buying it over and over again isn't going to be filling that. So we have to realize within, after the 10th car, after the 10th outfit or whatever, that this isn't working, that's obviously a pattern that we need to look into, right?
Yeah. And, so then we've established that there's this pattern, okay? Let's look at, in a little bit of the dialogue, some of the negative things you see in terms of culture when people are, chasing their paper, what they do to escape the emptiness. Because I feel, from my vantage point, that a lot of people that are all about just that hustle, they want to still have fun, but because they haven't made a lot of really intimate connections, then they kind of go into a dark world of escapism.
Yeah, so essentially, like, and it could be for anybody, if you haven't had like really any been introduced properly to that kind of stuff, and you work, and then all of a sudden you're out at the club or whatnot, you're not going to know your limits, you're not going to know the basics or anything like that. And then you're so used to being at a high level, functioning high level, working all the time, this and that, you're probably going to be, in there drinking as much as you can, this and that, trying to keep up with everybody, trying to prove your point, and you end up getting into this really dark place, which could turn into, more drugs and stuff, because you're just in such a headspace where you're prone to these things.
Well, and I think the other level of it too is you're working so hard, and that you're giving yourself no time to have fun. And then all of a sudden you have this like little short period of time where you do get to go up clubbing or whatever it is, and you just go nuts. You just go crazy. You're just like, whatever, I'm gonna drink, I'm gonna like get so fucked up. But then again, that becomes a cycle, because you're never actually enjoy celebration, going out dancing, being with other people is first and foremost connection. you want to be able to connect with the people you're with. There's nothing better than going, I mean, we have a really like close-knit company here. Like everybody hangs out, everybody's got a good relationship. And we genuinely care about each other. So if we're to go out, we're actually going to be interested in every single person's conversations, their lives. There's actually a tremendous amount of love. That's the only word I can call it, but love for each other. And that is a really fun, safe way to go and like enter the realm of partying. In a sense, you're celebrating together, you're celebrating your successes together. But when you go out in this way, you're also protected by your family. It's not just a bunch of random people that haven't gotten a chance to get to know you or have no interpersonal connections with you, just getting fucked up essentially, and nobody taking care of each other. And I think that that's a huge...
And that's the difference, you know, going out is having trust in the people you're going out with. And especially if you're at that point of successes and stuff like that, you know, realizing really who is your friend, who's using you and stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, you know, if you're at the club and you're drunk, you're too drunk, you want to have people who are going to take care of you and make sure you get home and stuff. Because if they're not there for you, are they truly your friend? Are they truly there for you?
Yeah, and the fact too that like when you're out with people that are your people, they're never gonna let you get too drunk, you know.
That's exactly.
They never want to see you, you know, puking in the bathroom or doing some sort of a substance that's gonna hurt you, or, you know, taking off in a car, whatever it is. I really think that society needs to start to create a little bit of an infrastructure around how you can safely go out into the world and celebrate, because it's almost like the 80s happened and cocaine and everyone went wild, and well, 60s too, people went wild in the 60s as well. But it's like there was never an infrastructure about how we should celebrate in the modern era that's like safe and really purposeful.
Yeah.
Right? Because I feel like a lot of times now people go out, but they go out and it makes their life worse. That's not the point of celebrating. You shouldn't be making your life worse because you went on a weekend out.
Yeah.
But you see it all the time, right?
You see it, they either got way too hungover, they did something really stupid or whatever, and it completely, you know, wrecked their life, and they were just trying to go and celebrate, have a good time, or it was a birthday, they got beat up or something. It's just like...
It just makes no sense to me. It's like this, if you are going out to celebrate life, you shouldn't have a hangover for that celebration for the next 3 days or a week because you've completely messed up your brain, you know. And you also say like, okay, I'm a hustler, I'm a good business person, whatever it is. Well, again, you're not, because you can't even handle your weekends.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, but
yes.
So, and this is again really part of my own mantra is I love to dance, I love to go out, I'm gonna, you know, drink my water, but I'm gonna surround myself with people that I know are good people, and we're gonna celebrate together, we're gonna do those things, and then the next morning we're gonna wake up and go for brunch or something like that. It's not about getting as messed up as you possibly can so that, you know, you're puking all over yourself and
waking up at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and you know, puking again and wasting a whole day.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just, that's kind of what these videos are about. It's just showing a different version of being successful, being in the lifestyle that doesn't also have to be like so one-sided. The other thing that I am starting to integrate hugely into my going out culture is bringing my mom, bringing like some of the older people, or doing things that, you know, doing things with family where it's actually like all of the generations, because it's way more fun when it's like that. I had a barbecue this weekend and it was like the little kids, the middle kids, the grandparents, everybody, and we were all just like having crazy amount of fun.
Yeah.
But it was actually way more entertaining than going to a club with just a bunch of people that are, you know, looking for
and you actually remember it.
You actually remember it, yeah.
So many people go out and forget the night, spending so much money on all these things, and it's like, you went and did all these things, but you don't remember it. Like, what was the point doing that to not remember it? And you're like, oh, I blacked out last night. And they're happy they blacked out. And it's like, you didn't remember any of it. You spent all this money, had a good time, but you don't even remember it. It's like, okay.
But the thing is, this is the core thing. They're not happy. They're absolutely 100% not happy. The reason they're not happy is they've totally fucked with their neurobiology. Okay, so they've probably done way too much alcohol, which is a depressant. maybe a lot of drugs, which is an overstimulant. So now their serotonin and their dopamine and their norepinephrine and everything that, their brain needs to function is now totally at a bad level. Probably they drop into depression. They did things that they weren't maybe proud of. Maybe they hooked up with people that they didn't necessarily mean to hook up with. Now they have a bunch of complications there. So it's just like a, I don't know, society gone wild, right? And I think we need to start to think about, really calculatedly think about how we want to create joy within our families, within our friend groups. And I know that this might sound a little bit boring, but I find that success comes from really knowing thyself and really creating strong boundaries about what you want to experience. And if you don't want to be continually dipping into the dark side and finding yourself really not proud of your behavior, then you have to think about what an alternative for it would be and how you're going to construct that reality for yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, and know the benefits and know what you're doing. Like, are you going out for a positive reason, or are you going out to hide from the world? Are you going out to actually hang out with friends, or are you going to escape reality? That's what you got to figure out within yourself. It's because there's a positive to going out and there's a negative. And you'll see a lot of people that are going out just to escape their problems and escape work, work hard all week and get as, like we were talking about, as drunk as you can, escape reality. And then there's people who generally just like going out and having a good time. So you got to find your balance, obviously, knowing that it's for a positive, because if you're going out negative, then that's going to turn into, harder substances. And
that's your vibration too,
exactly,
right?
You're going to end up, going into those lower vibrations, hanging out with people that are in those lower vibrations, and end up getting into those situations, right? So, yeah.
And the other thing is, a lot of people too, they go out because they're lonely or bored. And that is not really a space to enter into the underworld, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
If you're lonely or bored, first of all, you're not bringing your light. I mean, if I'm going to go out, I'm going to make sure that my vibration is as high as possible, and I'm going to bring my light to that venue, right? And I'm really aware of it. So I really meditate about that before I'm going in. I know that I'm going to, bring as many people up that I interact with. I'm going to smile at people. I'm going to dance. I'm going to have fun. I might have a glass of champagne. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. It depends on my vibe. But again, I'm going out with the intention of being joyful, doing the things that make me happy, and then also, getting out when I feel my energy dropping. So if I start to feel tired, or I start to feel like too many people are trying to consume my energy, and that's the best way I can put it. Like, if too many people are crowding me or coming up to me, then I just dip out and I'm like, hey, whatever, it's 10 o'clock, I've had my fill, and I'm gonna go home, have a nice bubble bath and chill, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like a lot of people feel like they have to get in that last minute, that's a good thing, because I don't know, I like being comfortable, go for a couple hours, go for an hour, and then you're good. But some people have to stay till it closes or the last minute. It's like suck every second out of it. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, it's almost an addiction in and of itself, because and this is the other topic about balance, is that if in your week you're not really enjoying your week. Like, I love everything I do at work. I love my mornings, I love my afternoons, evenings, and I know you're very diligent to this as well. But when you're passionate about every aspect of your life, then this is just another, petal on the flower. It's not the be all end all. And so if you hate everything in your week, and what you're saving your whole week is for this little minute craziness on the weekend, that's a very imbalanced way of living, and it's going to lead to a lower vibration. It's not the best way to live.
Yeah. And then kind of tying into all things with money and everything like that, chasing the bag. If you are so serious and willing to put in all that time and effort into chasing that money, chasing that bag, being where you want to be, then it really starts at that small sacrifice during the weekends. Like, if you're able to do that and you're so diligent about putting in all this work and stuff, then why are you throwing it all away during the weekends? That's the time where you can really sit down and put your energy and fuel that whatever you need to get to wherever you do during the weekend. Those are your 2 days, 3 days, whatever, to work on yourself, focus on yourself, and get yourself to that point. So it'll just work a lot faster for you. It's essentially time jumping when you're making that sacrifice of not going out anymore, or all the time, or getting fucked up, essentially.